So today is October 1st, 2025, and it is officially the Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. There's a couple other things that's recognized this month as well, but I always stressed on breast cancer and domestic violence. My mother, as well as some other members of my families and close friends, they are survivors of breast cancer. And I was in a domestic violence relationship. So those are two things that are near and dear to my heart. I push the domestic violence aspect more than I do breast cancer, because breast cancer is something that my family members and my loved ones that they dealt with, yes, I supported them in it, but with the domestic violence, that was a daily walk for me. Now with me, once he saw that the physical aspect of it didn't work, him putting his hands on me, he tried to move on to, mental abuse. I wish that didn't work, because by then my emotions were gone and I had mentally checked out on them. And I believe that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand with women. Once you put your hands on us, we don't trust you anymore. And we have mentally checked out. So that means our emotions are fading as well. And day by day, moment by moment, you're losing us. And we are leaving you. We have already planned our path and our way out. However long it takes us to completely, physically leave that relationship, we're already checking out. And that's one thing that he didn't understand and realize until it actually happened, when I was actually gone and he couldn't do the callbacks anymore of, I just want to talk to you. Can't we just talk? That spending time trying to use sex as a leverage, to get back into my good graces. All that stuff was just fading out. He didn't understand that. And once I had actually physically left, I was gone away from him. That's when he realized, oh, she gone. Yeah. And I encourage, men and women, because, women, they do it too. There are some women who are violent towards their male partners, their husbands or boyfriends or whatever it is. Some women are violent. And unless you see like physical bruises or marks, you don't know a person is going through that unless they tell you, or unless you see the marks. People could be out looking like a happy couple, but when they get behind their closed door, all type of chaos and hell is breaking loose. So for anyone who is in a relationship where someone is putting their hands on you, mentally abusing you, emotionally abusing you, playing with your emotions, that, doing something, saying something that's abusive, and then try to come back and apologize for it, or blaming you for what they're doing. Oh, you just made me mad, or you make me do this, you make me do that. Yes, start making your way out of that. Because there are some people who are in those domestic violence relationships, they try to make a point, of going too far. And that's where people get physically hurt and sometimes even worse. There have been people who have lost their lives to domestic violence. Unfortunately, it's more women than men, but there have been men that have lost their lives in a domestic violence relationship as well. This I went through in my early 20s. And yes, I use that most definitely as a learning lesson. And yes, I share that with all my nieces and my nephews, when the time is appropriate. I would always tell them, hey, get your anger in check, or hey, don't you talk to her like that. And my nieces would be like, hey, get him in check about how he's talking to you. If he's ever aggressive towards you, leave. Don't be sitting trying to wait around thinking that's going to get better, or he know not to hit me, that type of thing. No, he's inch by inch, step by step. He's seeing how much you'll take. Oh, she let me get up in her face. Okay, well, next time I'll put my finger in her face. Next time I'm going to push her head. Next time I'm going to push her. And after that push comes a hit. Like, no, do not allow it. At any time he's aggressive towards you, that is a no. You make sure your dad knows, your uncle knows, your brother knows. Let that be known that that's not going to happen. And with a few of my nieces, we have had to, go make a visit. Now, I don't need to go into that. So, but I encourage that for a man or a woman. Anytime your partner or the person you're dating, whoever that is, they get aggressive towards you, correct that. If it's not corrected, you see it progressing, you need to make your way out of that. That's something that person needs to deal with. That you make me do it? No, that's them making a choice, a decision to be aggressive and violent towards you. You're not doing that. Like, unless you're hitting them first, then that's the difference. But if you're not doing that, if they're not in control of their emotions, that's a person you don't need to be with. Don't care how much you love them, how much you figure a person can change. Well, you let them go change and get some help on their own, and then maybe y'all can revisit that. But don't allow yourself to be a punching bag, or I encourage you most definitely not to be fighting in your own home. That's one thing I was doing, and I just could not stand them. And that's one thing I kept stressing with him. Like, I'm not going to be fighting in my own house. We ain't doing that. And so that's when he tried to move on to the mental abuse, saying things, doing certain things. But like I said, by then, I had already mentally checked out on him, and I was slowly leaving that relationship. So I just encourage you all to be aware. Keep an eye on your family members. Aunts, uncles, mothers, fathers. Continue to talk to the men and women in your family. Encourage them to be aware of those type of things, and that they don't have to tolerate those type of things. If you see that type of behavior towards your son, daughter, niece, and nephew, whatever, I'm pretty sure I have to tell you to take care of that. Take care of that. Like I've said, I've received one of those calls, and we done went out to pay a visit. Just do not allow that, because it could get worse, and it could come to a point where someone can get seriously hurt, or lose their life. And unfortunately, there are many families who have that awful experience and that story to tell, and they would tell you the same thing. They're adults. They, for the majority part, they make their decision of who they do and don't want to be with, but their family still needs to make a strong stance to that person that's being abusive. Well, like, hey, we don't care what they decide. They want to be with you or not. You're not going to be putting your hands on our family member. So I just encourage you all to stand strong as a family. Those who are in those domestic violence relationships, I just encourage you to stand strong and love yourself more than what that person is loving you. If anyone is doing anything to hurt you or harm you in any type of way, physically, mentally, emotionally, they don't love you. They don't even love themselves. So I encourage you to love yourself more than what they are, and get out of that relationship best way you can. Get yourself to a place of safety, especially if you have children. You don't have to announce it. I know there's some situations where a person, they really push the envelope to let you know that they are willing to take your life and theirs. So as best you can, create yourself an out, seek yourself an out, seek yourself some help. Here on this website here, I'm going to load that up so you guys can see that. Just seek yourself some help and find yourself a way out of there very quietly, so that you can get to a place of normalcy beyond that person.